A quick thank you before we start. Many of you know I share my Gusto referral link on this podcast, and honestly, I didn't expect so many of you to use it. A bunch of you ended up with cheap groceries, and I ended up with some free credit, so it's been a lovely little win-win all round. If you're new to the podcast, let me tell you about the deal. Gusto is a recipe box service that delivers proper ingredients to your door, alongside easy-to-follow recipe cards. I've used them for years and find them incredibly useful when life is a bit hectic. They provide you with all the food you need to cook delicious meals, and they now have hundreds of recipes available each week. You can find my referral link in the show notes, and if you're a new customer, you'll get a pretty hefty discount. If you've already clicked it, thank you. I might have to start looking for a new partner to help feed you all. Have you cooled down now?
I think so.
With a borrowed shirt as well.
It's been emotional. I like that. I'm not against this shirt.
It looks good on you.
Thank you. Either that or it's the same colour as my face now. Here we go towards the reds. Okay. Dusty to sunset.
It is. We are in the middle of another heat wave, the second one of the year. We're doing this in end of June. It'll be likely we'll have some more, such as the era which we are living in now, which I don't remember being as common when I was growing up. I'm going to sound like one of these oldies, but it is somewhat worrying times. I know it's not that hot, like compared to parts of Europe, which have had over 40-degree heat. But it seems like we're never that far away from it at the moment, depending on where this massive heat dome sits. Apparently, I was looking at the weather today about why it's a little bit hotter than it has been. How are you coping in the heat?
Yeah, fine. But it's like this swinging pendulum, isn't it? It was only a couple of weeks ago, and I was standing there outside the coffee van at about 12 degrees or something like that. And then a week later, here we are, nearly like 36, 37 degrees now. It is wild, the fluctuations going on there. I'm okay with, well, actually, I'm not okay with this sort of heat. This has been absolutely disgusting to work in. But I am a summer baby. I like this heat, so it's been good for me. I've enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's hard to say you want to complain against it. I mean, it's so amazing to see businesses thriving. People are outside. And enjoying the outdoors. But I guess from I suppose more pessimistic kind of point of view, I just worry about the trend, what we're seeing. And whilst we might survive this summer, who knows what a summer might be like in 5 or even 10 years' time, especially when extreme heat can affect the vulnerable the most. It is, I guess, just a reminder of what we were taught at school, that climate change is real, and these things which were talked about, which didn't happen when we were young, are kind of happening now. And that is more extremes in our weather, more changeable weather. Certainly we have a lot more storms coming through, and we do have hotter weather. I don't have the answer to this. It's just making it part of the discussion to know that this is not normal. A heat wave is called a heat wave because it's above average temperatures for several days in a row. So that in itself is not a norm. And whilst we all love to dream of heat waves in the terrible weather, there becomes like a balance between what can be, I guess, pleasant for the sustainability of the human race. And I'm going really deep right now, but I suppose whilst we're
let's start on it. Let's go. Come on.
We see a huge amount of migration across the world through war and conflicts, but also through climate change. And it's a story which I've had on the podcast a few times with Freya Morgan and Deo Cato, who have talked about migration and why people migrate. And the story isn't going away. So I would urge anyone to educate themselves on global migration and why people need or feel the need to move away from their homes because they are living in more unbearable conditions than we are here. And I think that's just going to be a story going forward into our, into the next generation as well. So it's something I'll continue to push on this podcast. I certainly would like to get some more people and more experts, I suppose, in the realm of climate change. But as I said, I don't have the answers, but I just want it to be part of the conversation and recognize that this is not a normal. But I guess on the plus side, your business is booming.
Business is
people
good.
are outside.
Yeah, this is it, right? You got to balance this out a little bit. So we have a little bit of pessimism and negativity right here with global warming and everything that goes on with it. And can't agree with you enough when it comes to that sort of stuff. However, on the flip side, on a slightly shallower basis, the sunshine does bring people outside. So in terms of hospitality businesses, it's far better than you expect, really. People are just wanting to have iced lattes, iced coffees, ice cream, all that good stuff that makes you feel happy, nostalgic, and just generally having a good vibe. So from my perspective, business is doing really well. And the sun has definitely brought the people out and also brings out essentially happiness and joy. So people who turn up to the coffee van are just genuinely in a better mood than they are normally. So there's a positivity in that.
Have you been running out of ice at all?
No.
You offer ice lattes.
I do.
Even in your small setup.
Even in my small setup. However, I have not run out of ice yet. Touch wood going on here. And I am very fortunate to have a shop just down the road from me that actually I can buy bags of ice when I'm getting low. So I've been okay. I've got away with it. But I did have to, for instance, this morning, go to 3 different supermarkets to find ice before turning up to my little pitch. So again, I have no doubt that this evening I will be doing something very similar, and I will be running around via all the supermarkets to find myself some ice in preparation for tomorrow.
You buy ice? You put it in your freezer at home?
Yeah, I normally, sometimes I'll do it in the morning.
Yeah.
However, on the basis of what happened this morning,
right,
and turning up late for work as such, I would much rather be prepared for it.
You got any tips for keeping cool in this, other than buying your iced lattes?
Well, then I was about to say, you just bathe in iced lattes and you'd be absolutely fine in iced Americanos. I think it's a great combination you can have going on there. Obviously, probably not the greatest person to talk to when it comes to this, because I essentially promote and sell something that is naturally considered terrible for hydration, coffee. But I think you might have some better options and some better suggestions.
I've got some left field, some rather out there techniques to keep cool. Some of which are not tried and tested, but I just had some inspiration this week speaking with a friend. Where do you seek like the cold in the heat? You go to somewhere with air conditioning, right?
Yeah.
So get yourself in a supermarket, or maybe a public space. There's this, I won't reveal it because it's one of my favorite places to co-work in, well, not co-work, but just to work as a solo worker in London for free. I went there yesterday and oh my God, I was actually cold. I was, after about half an hour once I'd cooled down, I was like, I think I need a jacket. The aircon is so good here. But I was thinking, like, the worst part, I think, of being in a heat wave in a city is sleeping in the evening at night time, when like apartments, people living in spaces where they don't have a lot of ventilation or they just get sun trapped. I've been in those spaces before. These living spaces act like an insulator, and then once the brick is all heated up, that heat just stays within the house, even though it's really cold, much colder outside. So my first tip is, where possible, sleep outside if you've got that space.
I thought you were going to go something even more left field than that, to be honest. Well, be like, my first choice is just don't live in a house. But this is it.
Well,
we're coming towards it. Okay.
Stand by, Benny P. I think if you've got a sleeping bag, and maybe you've got if you're lucky enough to have an outdoor space where you can have an outdoor sofa or something where you got some cushions or pillows already out there, and you can just sleep on that. Bring your sheet out, put it on there, and then sleep with a sleeping bag. I've done that several times this year. It is amazing. Maybe you sleep better in the cool, but you get woken up more early because of dawn and bird song. But it is beautiful because I've actually gone to sleep. I mean, the last heatwave, I stayed at my sister's when I slept outside, and then I just couldn't almost sleep because I was staring at the stars. It was so cool.
You make it sound far too romantic than it is. What about like, you know, bugs and ants and
mozzies?
Yeah.
Well, usually in your garden, you're probably not going to find those kind of things.
And caveat that with that as well there, Tom, because you mentioned like, you know, sleep outside. However, I think the preference here should be sleep outside, preferably in a garden or something. Otherwise, Tom, you're just effectively just promoting a good old bit of homelessness going on. Right
yeah, I suppose so. Well, here's my left field.
We're going in. Okay. Let's keep it going.
It's going back to these places that have haircon. Now, hear me out. And if this company want to get in touch, I'll happily help sort this out. This is a really good business plan. You know, a shop is open between the hours, I don't know, let's say if it's open quite early, 7 till 8 o'clock, you know. Outside of those hours, you've got this space where people need to be cooled. Why don't we let them in to sleep in an aircon place? And there's one specific place I'm really thinking about, a decathlon. They have tents set up already with sleeping facilities in an air-conditioned unit.
Yeah.
Why don't Decathlon rent a tent?
Rent it. Yeah.
Rent a tent.
Yeah. Makes perfect sense.
Just for the heat wave, a short-term thing, you know, that's not...
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't even think that's a bad field, but that's also, if not, that's at the very least an incredible bit of PR right there, and would be a great sort of stunt.
They only have to do it for like, you know, 10 people, like a select number of people.
No, we're going down Surrey Keys. We're taking 200 people. Okay, they've got enough tents going on in there. It's fine. We've got this.
Because you can do sleepovers in things like the National History Museum. Other places do that. And actually a significant number of people will do that. They just bring their mat and their sleeping bag. Decathlon's got it all there. I'd happily pay for that experience.
Yeah.
And you get to try all their products. A win-win all round. If they're not willing to do that, then I'd say to sneak into a Decathlon just before closing time.
Yeah, sneak into a tent.
Sneak into a tent.
Yeah.
And then you've got a nice chilled...
They got barbecue equipment in there and stuff. I'm sure they'll have like camping stoves.
If you're hungry in the morning, you got all those energy gels.
Yeah, this is your meal will just be dried sachets of camp mix going on in there. Yeah, okay, yeah. It's not a bad shout. I don't think that's too bad at all.
Yeah, there's a few of them out there, especially in London. Yeah, there's one in Earlsfield.
Yep.
If you're desperate, if you're really struggling at night, then yeah, rent a tent at Decathlon. I have been known to get a wet towel and just use it as a kind of sheet.
Cool. Oh, that sounds horrible.
But yesterday I did find these 2 fans in this house that I'm staying in, and it's been too long that I didn't actually think about that, and actually I had a great sleep with just like the circulation going around. We've got these fans on during the recording. This is the state of how warm it is right now. And the state of what you arrived in.
Yeah, it was truly disgusting. Cycled over here. It takes all of about 20 minutes to cycle over here, but in 37-degree heat, I was just woefully prepared to be here. So again, thank you very much for letting me wear this shirt and for saving people's eyes.
It looks good on you. I'm actually annoyed that it looks so good on you.
No, it's all good.
It's so much cooler when you're moving on the bike. And then as soon as you stop, that's when your body heat and the heat of...
Yeah, well, you were bared witness to this right now. Yeah. I was like an absolute dripping mess stood outside your front door. So
one thing that has survived in your deep sweat is your amazing new Trailside coffee hat.
Oh, there it is. This is the perfect segue going on here.
It looks like nothing has touched it. Beautiful.
You see that? It's sweat resistant going on. I mean, I don't think it is sweat resistant really, but I have Trailside merch. So yes,
it looks amazing. Honestly,
thank you very much.
I'm a massive fan.
First bits coming along. So we've got quite a few things. I've worked with one of my very good friends who's a fantastic graphics designer, and he helped design several pieces for me. And so over the next month, I'll be rolling those out as they arrive. But yeah, we've got hats and t-shirts and tote bags and camping mugs. And yeah, we're going big. So very excited to reveal these throughout the coming month, basically.
And for those who can't see, who are just listening, we have a corduroy.
Corduroy.
Yeah, very posh. kind of trucker style hat, that kind of shape, you think?
It's I think this is what they deem as a 6-panel cap going on. Corduroy.
With your beautiful logo,
which is embroidered, very important. So yeah, and then very sturdy on the head, like solid on the front. So,
and what's on the back? What's the?
It's not a clasp. It's one of the I don't know what to call them, like metal pull cord things.
Yeah.
But yeah,
is it a one size fits all?
One size fits all. Yeah,
amazing.
Exactly.
All right, and it's only available
at Trailside Coffee website. Still to come. So
in person.
When in doubt, just either in person or slide into my DMs, and can always post something out to people as well.
And I've seen your amazing mugs. Yeah. They've been turned, thrown. What's the phrase?
I don't know, but ceramicized.
Ceramicized.
Yeah, either way, again, very fortunate to have worked with a wonderful ceramicist she was over in East London. She's just actually moved up to Edinburgh. But she very kindly made ceramic mugs for me. I'm going to get some more made up because those absolutely flew out. So again, we're just having a bit of fun here, sort of expanding the Trailside portfolio to include a little bit of merchandise, and so you can take a little bit of Trailside back home with you as well, and represent. So it's a fun little thing to try out. Basically,
I think coffee is always enhanced by the vestibule in which you drink it from as well.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah.
So yeah, kudos. You already do amazing coffee, but I imagine it just tastes ever so much more supreme.
It does
in one of those. Just jumping in briefly to say, if you've got this far, you're probably a fan of the show. And it would be great if you wouldn't mind confirming that love by following or subscribing to this podcast. It takes just one click from you, but it really does make a huge difference in getting more people to find this show. Thank you. You've been on a little bit of a European travel recently, I suppose, have you?
Yes, I have been. So decided to took a week off. Admittedly, part of this European travels was to go and watch the Oslo Diamond League Athletics. So for those that don't know, I am a huge fan of both athletics, cycling, endurance sports, basically going on here. However, I'd always said that I would love to go to Oslo to watch the Diamond League Athletics at the Bislett Stadium, which is in the centre of Oslo. It is a historic venue that has had many fantastic athletes run there. We're talking top of their game athletes, and you effectively get to watch some very knowledgeable, some fantastic athletes with a very knowledgeable crowd who are all there to enjoy the pleasures of athletics on a Wednesday evening. And it was absolutely delightful. So bought some tickets over there, flew over, was supposed to be there with my old man. However, he was unable to make it. So instead invited another friend who I knew who lived out there. And the two of us just had a lovely, good old catch up and watching athletics, basically. So that was lovely. Yeah.
Anyone famous competing that people would know?
I mean, only if you're probably in the athletics world, shall we say, but you have sort of 200, like you're talking Olympic and world champions and people, but you have, for instance, in the 200 meters, there was Letsile Tebogo from Botswana. You have the young, sensational 17-year-old Gout from Australia.
The next fastest man in the world.
The next fastest man in the world, or like potential fastest man. So he was there as well. And then you have other events where, for instance, it's Norway and they have their national and world record holder, Karsten Warholm, in the 400-meter hurdles. He was there.
So you saw him race?
He's still, absolutely.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, there's all these fantastic athletes. And then, of course, there's, if you're like me and into things like middle distance running, there is a fantastic American who is only 17 years old, and he's the fastest 800-meter athlete in the world this year, running 1:42. So you just have to look back and think, what were you doing? Cooper Lukenhaus.
Right.
Yeah.
The phenomena. Yeah. Became 800 world champion while still at school.
Yeah. He is 17 years old, and he is an absolute sensational 800-meter athlete, the fastest in the world this year. He's broken multiple records. But anyway, when he was in Norway, he broke the junior record and set the world lead time in the 800 meters, which at the age of 17, I think is pretty good going, really. I mean, you think back, what were you doing when you were 17?
Gosh, Probably a little bit overweight.
A little bit overweight. Well, I definitely wasn't overweight, but I was definitely drinking far too much going on in there.
At 17?
Yeah, I was rugby. It was already built into you.
At the old
kicked
club.
into you. Yeah, this was it.
Get away with that there.
Yeah.
I was running actually at that age. I think I actually ran my first half marathon at 17, so I probably wasn't.
Oh, that's impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
1:42, I think.
Okay.
At that age. Yeah.
It's not bad.
Yeah.
I mean, it's good.
But, considering no training. Yeah. So not training. No help in training. I just went out and just did a run.
Yeah, so basically puts you on the same wavelength as this guy right here.
At that age, I beat my friends in that half marathon. I think there was like 5 or 6 of us.
Same thing then. Yeah.
So
he beats all of his.
I was the school phenomena.
Yeah, he beats the people he races. Phenomena. You beat the people that you raced. Pretty much on even footing.
There we go. Thank you for that. For massaging my ego.
Thank you. You're very welcome. But yes, I had a phenomenal time over there.
I've got a question about athletics, especially if we talk about this Cooper Lukenhaus.
Yeah.
At 17, he's running 800 meters. And I suppose at a younger age, you're generally, faster in the shorter distances. Is that a rough rule of thumb? Then people migrate to longer distance as they get older?
I think there's sprinting is a very different beast than it is to, shall we say, like middle distance and longer distances and stuff. But as a rule, you would say when you're younger, you are just, generally speaking, a faster athlete. And then as you get a bit older, most people gravitate towards more endurance based.
Or is 800 meters still quite a short distance? What's the middle distance limit?
So middle distance would be 800 meters.
800, okay.
So 800, 1500 meters to about 3K basically.
I only ask this because you look at some of the great marathon runners and actually you see in history that they were very, very good middle distance runners and they competed there first.
Yeah.
And then they transitioned into marathon to compete there.
Precisely.
So do you reckon this could be a potential pathway?
I'm not going to say 800 meters is a very different beast to say 1500 meters. While 800 meters is considered middle distance, it requires a very different sort of type of workout and stimulus than say 1500 meters and then up to your 5Ks, 10Ks, halves, etc.
This is going to sound so like a general runner out there. They're just thinking like,
but to be fair, as in depending on how he trains as such. You could imagine that just by the nature of being that talented to be able to run an 800 meters in 142, that just in general, he will have a fantastic engine, stamina. He could, you never know, could potentially work his way up in distances or something. But I guess for now, obviously the focus is just on the shorter stuff.
That's also a personal choice in what
personal choice, physiology, all of that stuff. So yeah.
Any standout Brits at all?
Were there any standout Brits? Jake Whiteman, former world champion over the 1500 meters. He was there doing the mile event. I think he finished 5th at the time, but it was a very respectable 5th in a very competitive field.
Didn't he finish 2nd in the last World Champs?
So he
in a return to form, he was really happy that he got a 2nd.
Yeah, I think he was it the World Champs or the Olympics or something like that.
Amazing athlete. We've got a really good supply of, I guess, middle distance runners.
Yeah, it's a fantastic event actually.
Girls as well, I see.
Yeah, guys and girls. Yeah. So yeah, really exciting times. So yeah.
How was Norway otherwise?
Stunning.
I'm heading there next week.
Yes, you are.
Next month.
Yes, you are.
Very, very close,
which I'm very excited to hear.
I will be passing through Oslo. I think I've only got a few hours there in between coaches. I'm going to have a little cycle round.
That's fine. Yeah.
Anyway, you recommend I cycle too? I have about 5 hours to kill.
Ooh, okay. Yes, I do have a couple of recommendations. There is a fantastic place called Grefsenkollen. I'm probably going to, again, butcher that pronunciation, so I do apologize. The first time that I went there, and it effectively has beautiful view. Admittedly, this will require you to do a little bit of vertical climbing. You could always, if you're not gonna cycle it, I've got
the legs for it.
Depends how you're feeling on the legs. If you don't want to cycle it, you can always just catch they have buses and stuff up there. It's not far away. It's about a 15-minute, I'd say 15-minute drive or bus or whatever. And it's effectively beautiful viewpoint overlooking all of Oslo. Nice little part lovely trails around there, but also just very cool, and lots of people go up there, so it's a lovely place to just hang out and meet people and just, you know, soak up the lovely views of Oslo and the harbour front. So I recommend that one. Yeah, there's something slightly
amazing
different.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I don't really I'm basically making a overland travel to Trondheim from Lansing, kind of Worthing area, which is where I'll start from, which will involve a train into London and then a coach with my bike as well. I'm traveling with my bike, which is going to stop, I think, in Hanover, and then a Swedish town, I'm going to butcher that one as well.
Oh, so it's getting you from the ferry to Germany, and then Germany.
Yeah. Annoyingly,
ferry.
I've got to take a few more connections than I probably could have done if I'd have booked it a bit sooner. Yeah, Helsingborg. I'll stop there as well. So I arrive at Hanover, I think around about 2 a.m.
Very sociable.
I'm planning to sleep on the coach. I do sleep quite well on coaches, especially if I eat a lot.
Might have air conditioning as well.
Yeah, they're usually fairly, I mean, they're not the most comfy thing in the world, but I don't mind a little bit of discomfort. I can still sleep in a seat. But the next coach I think is about 7:30, and it's too little time. That's like 5-hour window to go get like a hostel or something, really.
Yeah.
So my idea is get to Hanover, get the bike out and on my back, and just have a little cycle around 3 a.m. like with early morning dusk in an empty city, to see a place that I wouldn't otherwise see if I just chose to just quickly get a hotel or just camp in the bus station, which I don't think has any kind of real structure to it. So I'm going to turn my tour into a bit of a mini tour as well. And I've got another little layover in Helsingborg for a few hours, where I guess I'm going to just do the same thing. So that's a town right on the southwest side of Sweden, which kind of is very close to the Danish border.
Yeah.
And then I get to Oslo, where I'm then going to get another. So I've got 3 places in this journey. It's going to take me several days, but I'm trying to make that journey an adventure.
Yeah, tours within tours.
Rather than it feel like it's just a coach journey that's going to be a bit of a slog. I'm going to make sure I've got a good book, good things to do on the coach, and good sleeping apparatus with earplugs and eye mask. But when I'm in a town, I'm going to have a little cycle around for a few hours, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what those 2 places.
Just trying to get as much out of it as you possibly can, really, which is always, always part of it.
So yeah, hopefully I have a couple of hours in Oslo to check out that viewpoint for sure.
Speaking of which, how has the cycling been going on? And it been on any adventures recently?
A few. My cycle training this year has all been about cycle training. I've gone full into cycling this year. I've had to step back from running. I run now once a week, and my training has gone really, really well. I cannot fault it. I'm very near the end. I've got this last week of build, which is going to finish of me going to this festival called Stone Circle, which is a gravel festival this weekend. So I'm going to do my last kind of big long ride there. And then I've got 3 weeks left to still do some riding, but ease off it a little bit and try and recover and rejuvenate my body and get a lot of rest while I can. But I have thrown myself into cycling this year. I thought at the beginning of this journey that I might have some kind of plan with spreadsheets and things like that, because I've had a good, I think, about 4.5 months to prep for this, which is a decent kind of time to build. Ideally, I suppose with something that's like ultra endurance, you might want to build over a much, much longer time, at least maybe 6+ months, because then you could build in some weeks of rest. I've still had those rest weeks. They've come quite naturally, and I've been listening to my body when I pushed it, and then being able to say, actually even this week is a kind of a little bit of an off week, at least at the beginning of the week, so my legs are still quite sore. But I started my training by just doing what I only know what to do with cycling, and that's go on tour. And I have had not necessarily a plan, but a vision of the things I wanted to do. And one thing I really liked the idea of was going on a cycle training camp, a very literal cycling training camp, taking my big tent, plonking it somewhere that's going to be really good for cycling, and then using it as a base to go and do different rides every day. kind of like going on tour, but always returning back to the same place. That's the kind of cycling I know, is cycling every day. And so I ended up going to the Lake District and camping in a little village called Chapel Style, which is in near Ambleside in the Great Langdale Valley, a very beautiful part of the lakes, which is actually quite central to the Lake District. That's kind of why I chose it. There were other options I could have gone to, but it meant that I could just go off in different directions and have just different journeys. And I was there because obviously with travel, it takes a day to get up there, a day to get back, and obviously the pack down and the packing up of the tent. And fitting in a week. I also had a podcast recording with Meg Holloway, which I've released recently, which I wanted to do. So that kind of took a day off. So I had 5 days to do cycling. I targeted 5 days. I did 4 days of cycling. The rain did get to me at the end of one of the rides. I got absolutely drenched, thankfully, at the very end of a ride. And because it was quite a hilly ride, that was my second ride. I was like, the next day, I checked the weather and it was meant to be coming in again really heavily at lunchtime. I was like, you know what? Everything's wet and damp. Probably just need to have a day off. Yep. So took a chilled morning, went into Ambleside, treated myself to a nice coffee and lunch and a little peruse of charity shops. And then bought some biscuits because I hadn't bought any biscuits. And then came back to the campsite and watched the rain come in and was very glad of my option not to cycle that day. And that's where I witnessed a guy and his son try to put a tent up in this torrential rain, and it was such a horrid sight. I really felt for them, but they were adamant at getting
Whilst you were still in your cozy.
I was still in my car.
Oh no!
I was in my car.
I want to help you, but
I got wet yesterday. I'm sorry, but I had my time.
Yeah, you're gonna have to endure this one. I'm sorry, buddy.
I really respected them to try and get their shelter up so fast, and then once it kind of calmed down a bit, I then went to my tent and had a tea and a biscuit. And I was just like chilling out for, it must have been about 45 minutes. And I hadn't really seen outside of my tent. The door was open a little bit, but I kind of got a glimpse later on, about 45 minutes later, of the same guy, a man, carrying his tent the opposite direction from whence it came. In a field which doesn't have any tents. It was like a farmer's field. And what had clearly happened, which I'd annoyingly missed, it would have been hilarious to see, his tent had obviously just completely lifted up and blown away. And then I saw him like in the aftermath of it. It was quite a gusty week that week. I do have quite a stormproof tent, but it did take some damage. I'm sure you saw my stories. My porch got completely ripped to shreds because it was basically flapping against my little kitchen unit. And as soon as it got a tear in it, then once it continued flapping, it absolutely ripped it to shreds. I was very thankful that it wasn't the main body of the tent, because I've got quite a big canvas tent, which would have been like beyond repair, but the porch bit, it just zips off. So hopefully I can find another one of those. But a phenomenal time in the lakes, despite the weather not being what I wanted it to be. I stayed constant. I could have left. I even tried to pay up front for my camping for like 4 or 5 days in advance, and the farmer was like, "Are you sure?" Because
we don't normally get that around here.
Not this time of year.
Yeah.
Like
you soft Londoners coming up here. Like, you're not going to last.
I'll pay day by day, but I'm going to be here all week. Yeah. And I just came back to him every week, every day. Sorry, but yeah, I think other people would have left, and I remember speaking to Meg about this and saying like, if I'd have done this again, if I was to go back, would I, stay in an Airbnb or a hostel or a house sitting or something? And I was like, actually, what I love about camping is you open your tent door and you just have nature outside.
Yeah,
it keeps you outside. And even despite some bad weather, I had some pretty solid shelter.
And it kind of simplifies your life as well in many ways. That's what I've always loved about it, is that it is just very much a simple shelter. And in many ways, I won't lie, I don't normally get the best night's sleep when I go camping. Like in terms of actual, probably what you would consider deep, decent, good sleep, it's questionable at best. And I wake up every morning, and when I go outside the tent sort of thing, bleary-eyed or something, I might put a cup of coffee on or something, and I just feel great. Like I don't feel great in the sense of that I've had a good night's sleep, but I do feel the energy and the positivity of being out and going of like a camp, basically, rather than, I don't know, I guess maybe being in the protection or the comfort of an Airbnb or something like that. You know? So I agree with that.
We need to upgrade your camping setup, or at least your sleeping setup. I slept solidly, like sometimes 10 hours a night when I was there.
Oh, absolutely not. But but then again, I've got like a ridiculously I'm a very light sleeper.
Okay.
And I probably, don't set up my tent particularly well.
I had a double mattress.
Oh.
With duvet.
What?
I got the glamping setup. Like, I've had it.
I mean, you did just go and mention there about your actual tent is the kind of glamping tent,
a massive,
big canvas tent.
Canvas tent, yeah.
I go extreme minimalism.
Look, there's different forms of camping, and I've got all range of it. So I got like the single solo touring tent all the way up to the massive. I suppose it's 4-man, but it would be good for a couple. With like glamping setup and double mattress and duvet and massive pillows, and because it was so cold. Like the first night, oh my god, my nose like nearly froze. I was wearing thermals while sleeping, and then I had like my hood on and a hat, and was still cold. But that helps you sleep deeper, I suppose, to some extent. Yeah, and because it was, what was it? Must have been probably April time. Yeah, April. So it was getting dark a little bit early still then. It just meant that by 9 o'clock I was in bed trying to sleep, and I was trying to give my body a lot of rest because I was at the very beginning build stage of my training, and the Lake District is very hilly. I definitely went and did some super hilly rides. Yeah,
did you go up I'm gonna before we go into
try and name the passes. Yeah, there's a few passes up there.
I was gonna say is it
Honister Pass?
Yeah,
phenomenal. Yeah, I came up it. So there's a little loop that goes from Keswick. And if you do it clockwise, you go up the steepest part of the pass, which is not very pleasant, but it means you get the most beautiful descent.
Views.
And there's like a slate mine or something at the top.
Because that's the whole thing. It's the Honister slate mine. Is what it's known for.
Which looked like an amazing place to go if you wanted to go exploring the mines. Yeah, definitely want to go back there and see that properly. Phenomenal views up there. The downhill was probably one of the best descents I've been on in the UK. Just a phenomenal road.
Yeah.
The fact that you could see it as well was quite nice.
So I've driven that, it was
not
good.
Too tight at corners, which are good. That leads on to another pass, which I've completely forgotten what it is, which was fine. It's a nice pass that goes back into Keswick, and it's quite foresty up there. It's like a Windlatter, that's it called, Windlatter Pass. And there's Windlatter Forest at the top. But probably the most famous one is Hard Knot Pass.
I was going to say Hard Knot, but I wasn't sure if Hard Knot was
famous because it's an absolute brutal killer.
Yeah, like 23% or something, isn't it?
30, yeah. I think it averages. Yeah, I think it says it's like it's got gradients of 30%, and a lot of that road is on that that level of gradient. Brutally steep. So steep that you have to get out of the saddle to climb it. Like if you sit on the saddle, your front wheel just comes up because all the weight's on the back. So you have to keep that weight forward, and you just can't stop, because if you stop, then getting going again is hard.
Yeah,
I felt like a true accomplishment in a cycling kind of form to tick that off. There's also Rhinos Pass. The two of them kind of like intersect in like a big kind of M shape. Just again a phenomenal stretch of roads, and that's kind of one of the things to do there. There's another pass called the Struggle, which goes directly from Ambleside, and that leads to Kirkstone Pass, which I went down, which goes towards Ilswater. Just phenomenal riding the whole time, and I really love Keswick. That's where Meg's from, and I did a recording there. The lakes around there, like Durrant Water is one of my favourite lakes there. But then if you go and do that little loop, you get to Buttermere.
Yep. Go up to Helvellyn as well if you want to.
Yeah, if you want to hike,
If you want to do a bit of a hike.
This is actually a really interesting thing. So I was looking at I did quite a lot of touring around the lakes, and looking at my heat map afterwards, I've barely scratched the surface because the majority of the stuff is mountains.
Yeah.
So the best way to explore the lakes is actually by getting out on foot and climbing all these amazing peaks. I've done Helvellyn. That's quite an accomplishment, and Scafell as well is a phenomenal one to do. Good fun. Would love to go back, and
it's such a it is a fantastic place, and it's really lovely to hear you enjoying it and experiencing this, because I think, again, I suppose it is part of what the name of of the podcast is that you have, but effectively it's these incredible places here in the UK that you can go to. And I think people overlook places like the Lake District from a cycling perspective. And there is an element of here where I understand people overlooking it on the basis that they want smooth tarmac and sunshine. So you just see everybody get on a plane and head off to Mallorca or something like that.
Right,
and just go and do like, a lap of Mallorca and do Sacalobra and whatever, and then just do the well-trodden path now of like every other cyclist. And I'm not against that. I think it's fantastic. It's a great thing to do. However, there is something lovely about doing the Lake District, something close to home. And genuinely, it has just rides and roads that could rival anywhere else in the world. It is just simply the fact that you are at the mercy of the elements, and one day could be absolutely fantastic. Well, you know how it is, 4 seasons in one day, basically. It could be sunshine one moment, then absolutely pouring with rain the other. But it's lovely to see you go out and actually explore all these different cycle routes and paths and roads that are like famous, really.
Yeah. If you can conquer Hardknot and Rhinos, then you can conquer any road in the world, I think, really. I don't think you get much steeper than that, really. And that, I think, with cycling and certainly with climbing, it's all about building confidence with experience. And I've certainly had my journey over 10 years of gaining lots of experience on many different climbs. I credit cycling across France as my first big tour, where the climbs slowly got bigger and bigger and longer until I was, I think, on day like 18 or something, I was summiting Mont Ventoux, which was something that scared me initially, but I was so well prepared for by the time I got there. And so, yeah, it was a really big confidence builder to get me doing some steep climbs, to get some climbing in my legs. I definitely felt it for weeks to come, because actually I had a week off where I came back to London and worked at Run Limited with John T for his Marathon Expo, which was phenomenal this year, the Club Lounge. Really enjoyed that. I was marathoned out there. I worked for 4 days, putting my best self out there, welcoming people at the front door and chatting to them about their marathon journeys. And by the time the marathon came, I was like, I'm exhausted now. But I was actually going on tour back cycling again the day after with my friend Spike. So we went and did the Royal Chiltern Way over 4 days. The Royal Chiltern Way is one of the Cycling UK bikepacking routes. I think it was opened last year. I think it's quite new. Brilliant for anyone in the south, especially if you live in London, because it's very easy to get to. Basically, the route consists of 3 loops that are interconnected. So you kind of do like a weird, like 2 figure of 8s to kind of do the whole loop. You're never that far away from home. And actually, kind of when we pulled into Chesham and saw like the tube, it was quite weird after we'd been riding for 2 days on some gravel stretches. I think 60% of that is gravel. Okay. And it's phenomenal gravel riding. We had the time of our lives. We just happened to choose the very best. I would argue the best time to do that ride is during peak bluebell season, because the route takes you through the most glorious forests, and we just had a whole carpet of purple surrounding us, and it was phenomenal. We camped one night in one of them, and just waking up the next morning just to this serene sight was beautiful. But I wrote about that on my Substack, and it's one of probably my favorite bikepacking routes. Don't tell West Kerno Way, because West Kerno Way was phenomenal down in Cornwall. That's different. A lot of seaside stops there. But if you want really good gravel and really good forest routes, it takes you right in the heart of forests. So you can even like kind of go off piste a little bit and like add on extra trails. Or what we did, we found these little pits where obviously kids went and did like jumps and stuff. And even with our bike packing setup, we'd be riding these as little kids again. It was just so much fun. Really, really enjoyed it. But I came off the back of that 4 days of gravel riding with a bank holiday weekend that had become free with no plans, but all my bikes set up to go cycling. So I decided to straight away drive across to Norfolk and ride the Rebellion Way, which is a ride I've been wanting to ride for ages because I've got family in Norfolk. And so I kind of know that stretch a little bit. And it's obviously very accessible for me because I could stay with family and they actually live right on the route. So I made the leap to kind of continue riding after 4 days and did that route solo in 3 days. And And I'm writing about that at the moment. And it's probably not my most favorite of routes. There was a lot less gravel than I probably would have liked. A lot of kind of long, quiet roads. But whilst I was writing this piece about it, I got to find the beauty in it. And actually the beauty is that you're cycling on the Rebellion Way, these really quiet roads that there's no traffic. So if you really enjoyed that part of cycling, it's such a beautiful, accessible route for you. I guess my qualms were that I would have probably liked to have been along the coast a lot more, but I know that the coastal road in the North Norfolk coast is actually quite busy with traffic. But if that's what you want, if you do want to see more of the coast, you could add that to your route. So the GPX file they give you is, with all these routes, is purely by means of a guide. It's up to you to add your own adventure onto it. So I obviously love cycling around the coast. I did that around Wales, and I want to complete a lap of the UK on the coastline. But what it is more famous for, the Rebellion Way, is the history of that region, with a lot of the castles and ruins that are there, and the old forts, and the route does take you directly to all those places. That's not my kind of cup of tea, but if it's your kind of cup of tea, you'd have an absolute storm.
It sounds like a fun historical sort of ride.
Yeah, it's one of those ones. Yeah, but definitely on the historical side. Yeah. And Norwich Cathedral as well. Even though I've been to Norwich for my whole life, I've actually never really admired the cathedral, because with family we just never really do that kind of thing. And it took you directly into the cathedral grounds, and it's phenomenal. And actually, one thing I know about anyway, but they have these. Oh, what is it? They have these birds of prey that live on top of Norwich Cathedral.
Those are like some falcons, which sort of like
peregrine falcons.
So they keep the pigeons away.
Yeah, and there is, if you search peregrine falcons in Norfolk, there's a live webcam.
Nice.
So I'm looking at them now, and there's some chicks there. Oh no, there's just some feathers. Okay. But you can see that, and I actually could spot that from on the ground. So I was looking up, I was like, oh yeah, there's where those famous peregrine falcons live and are watched by the entire world.
Much like in the UK. Oh, the UK, sorry. Much like here in London.
What?
There's famous peregrine falcons that you can watch. Yeah.
Where?
So you've got ones that live. So you've got some that live on Big Ben.
Oh, I didn't know this.
Yep. And also the ones who, there are the falcons who live, I say live, I don't know if they exactly live as such, but they're also over at Buckingham Palace.
Oh. So they have webcams?
They do on one of them, something like that. I'm fairly sure they do anyway. I must have just made that up, but I'm fairly sure it was like Big Ben or something that they have peregrine falcons, because it's to stop all the pigeons from like pooping everywhere, all over Parliament and over Parliament as well. Yeah. Yeah, so there's a very official document on the UK Parliament website. Peregrine falcons at the Palace of Westminster. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, nesting box.
Yep.
Beautiful.
Anyway.
Love to see that.
Yep. So those both sound like some very fun adventures going on there. However, I also understand that you did relatively recently as well, actually, quite an excessively long bike ride. Yeah, so I suppose in my training, I went off and did some touring, because I think the beauty of touring is you can just do it at your own pace. There's no pressure. You enjoy the day. You get to see something amazing. And that was really helpful for me to build a really good solid base in my cycling. Now I've got that base in the probably the next era of my cycling kind of training, this like the last block, I've been trying to work out what to do with it. And I've just been doing a lot more consistency. So going around Richmond Park a lot more often, just getting in those extra miles, trying to do some long hilly rides on the weekend, going to Surrey Hills. But one thing I really wanted to do was a kind of a simulation ride of simulating the actual race for the TCR. So the TCR, I'm going to be racing in the summer. I have 3 weeks to complete a journey that's just going to be shy of 5,000 kilometers. And if you average that, it's about 250 kilometers a day. But that's if I want to chase the cutoff times, which I don't. So I want to be riding faster and longer. So I haven't really talked about this, but I'm probably going to target 2 weeks, which is quite ambitious for my first ever ultra endurance race, to go
a week under the cutoff time. 2 weeks means I will have to average 350 kilometers per day. And that's obviously going to vary with terrain and hills. And certainly the first few days of this ride in Norway are going to be incredibly mountainous. So I'm not entirely sure if that's going to be possible, but that's just a kind of rough aim. And if I finish either side of that, a day or two either side, I'll be happy. If it's 16 days, great. If it's 12 days, probably very unlikely, because that's getting into like, I think the people who win it do it in like 10 days, 10 and a half or something. So that's to kind of finish a few days after the winners, will be a very ambitious target. But I think I've got it in me. Who knows? Everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face. And in ultra endurance riding, I'm very much know that somewhere along the line, something will humble me. This is the one piece of advice that a lot of people have, is that your first ultra endurance race, you will get humbled. And so I'm not going to sit here trying to brag any kind of claims of how fast I can do it. But in preparation for what that might feel like, I wanted to do a super long ride, and I was working out what that might be. I was looking to do maybe the Dunwich Dynamo on my own, there and back, because I'm going to miss it this year doing the TCR, and that's a ride that goes from London to Dunwich, which I think is about probably in the region of 200 kilometers or something like that. Or maybe like 180 or something. So doing it there and back would be about 360. Or riding to Paris, from London to Paris, which is about 285 kilometers. But a few friends of mine wanted to ride around the Isle of Wight in one day, and getting I think it was a 9:15 ferry from Portsmouth. So I was like, how long does it take to cycle to Portsmouth from London? What is the distance? Can I do that and cycle back? And I worked out I'd have to leave about 3:15 in the morning. So I set my alarm for 3 a.m., had everything prepared, and set off in the middle of the night, cycling in... This was what was really good, because it was an amazing simulation for me to simulate riding at different times of the day. So I learned a lot by cycling at night with my lights, and also the temperature. And actually, I should have worn my overshoes because my feet got a little bit cold, because we weren't in a heat wave at the time, but it was a bit chilly, maybe about 12 to 14 degrees overnight. But these are all the things that I can learn that I can then take into when I actually do the race. Whiz down was super fast. Managed to get there just maybe an hour early before the ferry departed, so that was great. Cycle around the Isle of Wight with my friends, super hilly ride, and then when we got the ferry back, it was quite heartbreaking to like say goodbye to them as they got a train back to London, and I was committed to cycling back. And learned a lot about myself then. I didn't eat a lot on the ride back, because I ate quite a lot on the islands, even though I was still doing about 110k, I think it was. Again, got cold again with my feet, didn't pack my overshoes, and yeah, was experimenting with my lights, because I've got quite a good powerful light, which Sarah Ruggins has lent me, but I need to be cautious about not using its power too much, because I'm going to have to recharge it. So experimenting about what is safe with a limit of light that is enough for me to see the road. And I think
get your iPhone get your iPhone light to watch out.
I've learned that
days.
Going downhill fast, you probably want a lot of lights, because you've not got a lot of reaction time to the road ahead. But then going uphill slowly, I can put it on a much reduced intensity, because I've got more time to see. Yeah. Little things like that were super useful to do. Also, actually, one thing I've been doing is learning how to do some better route planning. So for TCR, you have to plan your own routes. There's checkpoints and there is some compulsory course, but in between that, the vast majority of it is whatever way you want to go. You have to make sure you don't ride banned roads or illegal roads. But also it's down to personal rider preference of what roads you ride, whether you ride fast roads, which are going to be perhaps busy with traffic, or traffic that are whizzing past at like 60 miles an hour, or whether you go on the quieter roads, but you might be riding slower and you might have more junctions and more turns, so it might be slower going. And so,
or vice versa. It's like you could be on those motorways or something, or like a busier road, that's, shall we say, like straight. But you could go with the more direct route or something, which is potentially like goat track-esque or something along those lines. And it could be like, you know, X number of kilometers shorter sort of thing. But, you know, do you save time? That is the beauty
There's
of
a
navigation.
lot. And don't ask me how my route planning is going, because I haven't done it yet. I should have worked on it a long time ago, because it's going to take me, I think someone said it took them 100 hours to plan their route for a TCR. But once I've got a route and I'm happy with, you know, it might be the flattest or, you know, the fastest that I think I can do, I might even have a backup route for some stretches if I perhaps am not comfortable being on main roads, because I'm not sure what time of day I'm going to be riding on them as well. But one thing you can also do is put in some points of interest, which is something I've never done before. I've got this Coros Dura, which they've sent me, my first ever bike computer, which I've been using now for a few months. Charged this twice.
Wow.
In its use. This is what it's famous for its long battery life.
Yep.
I think it's got 120 hours of runtime. I've had this since April. So that's April, May, and nearly the end of June. So we're coming up to 3 months. I charged it when I first got it, and I ran it down to its end of battery recently, and charged it a second time, and it's still going on that second charge.
Yeah.
It's phenomenal. It is. And I think possibly, you know, there's personal preference with what the display, and this is probably a much smaller display than some other things could have, but I'm a bike tourer and I need a reliable device that I don't have to charge every single day.
Good battery life. That is sort of the priority, really.
And the solar charging on it, it's got a little solar panel on the top.
Got a solar one.
Is real. It does work, and phenomenally, even like I'll be stopping a ride for lunch or something, I'll take this off my bike and sit it on the table pointing at the sun, so it's got like a further hour of charging. Even on some cloudy days, it still gets some charge, but not as much. But on the super sunny days, it's even getting to the point where when I was running low, I was trying to see how far I could push this to its like until the battery died, and I was on a sunny ride in like the fading evening sun, so the sun was quite low and it wasn't kind of striking it on the bike, so I was taking it off my bike and like riding around holding it trying to get, because I actually ran out of charge mid-ride. But that was useful to know, to test it out. And in testing I realized that it goes down from like 10% down to 5%. It starts giving you buzzing alarms. I got down to 4%, 3%, 2%. I was like, okay, let's see how far I can push this. As soon as it got to 1%, it cut off. So good testing to know that ride it down to 2%, but then it needs to charge, or so then you're not gonna you're gonna lose your ride. You got
to be thorough with your equipment, and I think it's particularly for you and what you're doing, the solar option. Like for most people, solar probably isn't really that necessary, but for you, you could be spending long periods of time away from any form of charging equipment as such. It's probably very useful. So totally understand that, and certainly something which I'm going to have a little look at some point, because much like you, Tom, I am fully immersed in the well, I'm not fully immersed, but I'm trying to get in the equipment game here. Okay, so we need to talk about equipment.
You've got a new bike, right?
Yeah, and you've got a new bike as well. So like I feel like we need to bang on about this.
Why are you getting into cycling?
Well, like I mean, I've always, aside from the well-trodden path of washed-out runner turned to triathlete, I've always been interested in cycling. Like I love watching all of the cycling races, and I've always known that at some point I would love to try and do a little bit more cycling. And it just so happens that an opportunity to do a half Ironman presented itself with some friends. So I'm going to be doing the Ironman 70.3 in Krakow at the start of August. So I kind of need to find my cycling legs.
It's not that far away.
No, it's
just
really
over
isn't.
a month.
Yeah, it really isn't. So I need to find my cycling legs. So in preparation for this race, and also just in general to try and future-proof myself, I went and bought myself my first ever bike. So finally, and it's a road bike, admittedly.
Okay.
So I've gone full roadie.
Yep.
No gravel around here for me.
Okay.
I mean, I think you could squeeze some gravel tires on there. It's got enough
Do you
of
know,
a...
what clearance do you have? Do you know?
minor details.
Do you know what tires
Thin.
you have now? What size tires you have on?
Slim ones.
Okay.
So-
It's a shame you didn't bring it. It would have been good to
I
see.
know, yeah.
I would have probably cried though, lifting it up with like my finger.
It is disgusting because it's built more as a less aero and more of like a climbing bike as such. So it still has aero properties, but I think it weighs 6.8 kilos or something like that. It's like it's like about 7 kilos basically. Wow. Yeah. And it was disgusting because you saw my trusty steed that I often ride is made of steel, and it's genuinely like lifting up a dumbbell, a very heavy dumbbell. It is ridiculous. And then I bought this bike and
what is the bike?
A giant TCR Advanced Pro with Shimano 105 Di2. Okay. So electronic shifting.
Nice.
Yeah, sounds all very fancy.
Yeah.
Now, believe me...
Have you bought some spare button batteries?
No.
You need to somehow attach them to your bike.
Okay.
They're in the shifters.
Yeah.
They're tiny little batteries.
Yeah.
When that goes, you can't shift gear.
They did mention this to me.
Yeah.
And you do have to remember to actually charge everything. You know when you buy the bike or you're in the process of buying it and then they give you the whole like, oh, and also and what about that? And by the way. Oh, and by the way. It was a bit like this. And bear in mind that they must have looked at me and just gone, what an absolute idiot. Like he probably doesn't need any of this. But I've just decided that I would try and future-proof myself. And now I come from a running background, so I understand sort of pricing in terms of shoes and shirts and equipment and that sort of thing, and backpacks and all of that. I understand that world and I understand how much that costs, and there's just levels in this game. And then all of a sudden you come around thinking that a pair of super shoes, running wise, is, you know, an expensive pair is about £280 brand new sort of thing, and that's a lot of money. I think I spent about not far off that same price for a pair of cycling shoes, and you can't even walk in them. It's like, you know, like what's the point of that? They're like, oh, you can walk with them, then you got to put some cleats on the bottom of them, and then you just clip and clop your way all over the place. Yeah, and you got to pay for the cleats as well. It's like, oh, do you want the advanced cleats, or do you want like the beginner cleats going on? And I was like, well, clearly the beginner cleats, because I've just told you. And then I bought a helmet. That was a disgusting amount. By the way, full disclosure here, I went to Sigma Sports, absolutely fantastic store, loved it, knew I would, disgusting place to steal your money, loved it, but however, I did come out of there completely broke, and they obviously saw me and were like, he seems like somebody we could definitely rinse right there, just bleed him dry. So I came out with a full kit. I got the helmet, I got my cleats, I got my racing bib, I got my jersey, and the bike I got at a different shop. But basically, yeah. But either way, there are levels in this game, and I realized that I spent what I deem as like a relatively large amount of money on this bike kind of thing, and then you realize that to a ton of people it is like fractions. Like when you realize how far up the chain it can go, sort of thing, it is, talk about remortgage your house kind of prices going on there. So it was an eye-watering experience, but I did go out, and for my first bike ride yesterday, actually, Tom, on my new bike, I've had it for about 3 and a bit weeks, and I finally got to ride it for the first time yesterday.
Can we talk about this? Because I saw you go on your ride. Yeah. I was so happy for you, you know, riding around Richmond Park. It's a phenomenal experience. And I was so happy that you finally got out on your bike from looking after it and not wanting to. Yeah,
just staring at it in my living room for the last like 3 weeks.
But I have to also admit something to you. It nearly brought me to tears. Not in a good way, because you obviously did several laps, so your segments kind of came up. And I could see, you know, when you got gold and it came up with your top segments, especially the hills, you know, Dark Hill being one of them. And I just clicked on it, just curious, you know, to see, you know, what level of rider are you?
You got to have a look at these.
And comparing your best effort against my best effort, you were faster.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
And I was crying because I was like, it's the fucking bike, isn't it? Is that? So all that money he spent on that bike, he's got a super lightweight bike.
Aero gains, baby. This is it. Those lightweight gains going on.
You admitting actually that it's a road bike and the astonishing weight or lack of weight has actually made me feel a little bit better.
Yeah.
I have a gravel bike which is steel framed, a little heavier. It's still a lighter bike than my previous one. So I've been getting faster anyway, naturally. Been doing 4.5 months of training, right? And you come along on your first ride, your longest ever ride on Strava, which is like what, 65k.
I've never seen so many medals come up in my life.
Absolutely blitz all of them. And it wasn't just one segment. I looked at several. I was like, oh, maybe you just blitzed up that hill. All of them. There was like maybe one or two that I was faster than you on.
I got like 184 like medals or whatever, like PBs during that ride.
So many.
It's just like, I had no idea there could be that many in Richmond Park sort of thing. Yeah, I think I had a look at it because I think it's the what's the name of that hill? There's Darkwoods and then there's
Dark Hill. Yeah,
Dark Hill.
Should I get your ride up actually on?
I think at that time on one of them. Bear in mind,
did you go for it?
No,
were you, no. Oh, fuck off.
As in, on one of them, I did go for like, I was like, okay, I'm gonna push it. But I didn't go for it. I didn't go for anything.
God.
I didn't go for anything in the sense that I left it all out on the tank.
To be fair, I haven't been going for it either.
There we go.
I've been doing my endurance rides, so there's been a level of like containment.
Yeah.
I told you I was going to probably go out yesterday morning, right?
Yeah.
Because of the storm overnight, I had to sleep in. I got kept up. I was planning to just be like, fuck it.
I'm just going to absolutely
I need to beat Penny P before our recording. I can't have him beating me on his first ride on all these segments. Right, let's bring some up. See if it will show you. I mean, I don't need to like have to rub this into me, but yeah, your first bloody ride on your ridiculously lightweight bike. Oh, I didn't actually see the images when I think I just saw it just as you posted it before you do look good in your
Thank you.
little suit.
Thank you. Yep.
Longest ride ever, 62 kilometers.
Yeah, I know.
and
so
you already blitzed me. So yeah, Dark Hill and Sawyer's Hill.
That was it. So I think it was Sawyer's Hill. I didn't really.
Did you just go around in one direction?
Yeah, I just did it a few times. So I was only doing them really. Sawyer's Hill was super casual.
Dark Hill,
I went for one where I was like, I'm just going to go a little bit harder.
You did a 406, and I'm a 419.
It was 406, and it was like on that day, I think it was like 6th. So,
but even like the Tour de Richmond Park, which I think is, I don't know if it's the ultimate.
I think I did it in 20 minutes. Or
yeah,
something.
I think that's the go to like segment.
Yeah.
20 minutes 34. 22:04 for me.
Oh.
Like a minute and a half faster across the whole of Richmond Park. That's phenomenal. I mean,
we're going to put it down to the bike. I'm saying it's the bike.
I know you're an incredibly fit person anyway with your running, and certainly your fitness in running is far greater than me. So I'm putting some of that.
I mean, that's all it is for me. It's just literally holding on to.
Have you got road cleats or mountain bike cleats?
Road cleats.
So I won't be able to even. I could change your pedals and maybe ride your bike once, maybe, but.
Give it a go.
I have to change the pedals for that. It just looked like a phenomenal bike. So yeah, really happy for you.
Thank you.
I have to, I guess I have to boast that I got my first ever KOM on
No
Strava.
way. Okay, that's impressive. Okay, let's hear it.
In Richmond Park, of all places.
Okay, that's
one of the most cycle places.
Yeah.
I think the Richmond Park is, some of the segments are the most cycle segments, certainly in the UK, I'm not sure in the world, perhaps in the world. But I looked, some of the segments have over 110,000 people on.
Honestly, it blew my mind because I think of things in running terms and I'm like, Battersea Park, very popular, incredible like number of runners go around there. And then I went Richmond Park and I was like, okay, I don't know where I'm going to finish up in this, but there must be there must be about, I don't know, 20,000 or something at least. And I was like, I reckon I'd be about halfway up or something, just cruising on this or whatever. And then she looked and it was like, I'm like on one of the segments, I was like, oh, you are 11,000 of 100, like,
yeah,
89. It was disgusting. It's disgusting numbers.
Well, I seem to have randomly on a ride stumbled across a segment which has not a lot of people doing it,
Unfortunately,
in
Tom,
Richmond Park.
I'm gonna find this now, mate.
well, why it's so unpopular is because it mixes road and gravel.
Okay, there it is.
And I've got a gravel bike that can handle it. I think I'll just check this. I'm not going to say what it is.
Townsend Trail.
There are how many people who've done this? Where do I find it?
Have you actually just cycled your bike but put it as a running route instead? So look at him. He's running at 4-minute mile pace.
110 people have done this segment.
Well, you're number one, okay.
And I wasn't number one first because I randomly came across it and I got like joint 9th or something.
Okay, yeah. So you're like,
and I saw it was my first ever medal in cycling, like top 10. And I was like, wow, oh my God, I wasn't even going that fast.
Impressive.
And then I looked into it, saw how few people have done it and the fact that it mixes road and gravel. And then I went back the week later and then I was like, I'm going to actually give it a shot. I honestly didn't think I'd get in the top 5. So when I looked the previous week, I think I'd confused my stats and I thought the people who got like the top 10 had averaged like nearly 40 kilometers an hour or something. I was like, that's like super light bike standard, but I got that wrong. They were like high 20s. So the person who was in first did it at 27.2 kilometers an hour average. I whipped round just hoping to get myself further up the leaderboard. I thought probably I could get from 9th into like 7th or 6th or something like that easily just by actually giving it a go. Came back from my ride. You obviously don't know until you come back and you upload it. Bloody got the bloody KOM. Yeah, boy. I averaged 30.2 kilometers an hour. Okay. I beat the person in first by well over a minute, like a minute and a half in a segment that is, how long is it? 7.2 kilometers. It's a fair distance. Right, fair distance. It's not a short segment, but I'm not going to be getting any short segments. But yeah, I'm not going to tell you where it is. You're welcome to find it if you want. But yeah, it mixes a stretch of road and then goes into gravel.
Nice.
And as I was going, the first bit is downhill on a road. I was stuck behind a car that put their brakes on. So I had to put my brakes on. So there's even some more time there.
Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe when I come back from TCR.
Exactly. And you can also say, I'm not saying it's down to this either. I'm going to say it's just down to your phenomenal cycling fitness that you're building up. But also
the new bike
could be gains on your part with the new whip.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely got the gains in my legs, but I've just noticed, and this is, I mean, you kind of touched on it. This is one of the quite frustrating things about cycling is in order to be faster, you need money.
Yeah.
You need better equipment that's more expensive, and you get a lot faster by putting in a lot more money. And that's a really sad thing about this sport because it does differentiate people. And I've certainly been sitting at the lower end of things with a very cheap touring bike. I wouldn't say it's cheap, but it's just
when you realise the levels in
the scheme of things, yeah. And I've turned up to group rides, and I've just clearly had the heaviest bike, the slowest bike, and I'm putting in the effort, but it's the equipment that lets you down.
Yeah.
And it's just one of those frustrating things about this industry. And I think it's always important to at least acknowledge it and recognize that we all come from different backgrounds, have different budgets, different finances, but we should still all be able to ride together to some extent. We'll come on to that in a minute. But I've been throwing myself this year into trying to build partnerships with brands, and obviously doing a lot more cycling. I've reached out to a lot of cycling brands this year to try and level up my setup to get some upgrades. I certainly have pretty much everything I need to have a great time on the bike, but I've just wondered if there's a possibility to get a better experience. And I found and have had such a wonderful experience with Mason Cycles, who are an amazing adventure cycle brand based in West Sussex, which is very, very close to my sister's. So it's actually really convenient for me because I'm down there quite often. And actually over the last few months, I've been to visit them several times. It's just so easy to get there. And Dom Mason, the founder of Mason Cycles, has been amazing to me and has taken a shot on a complete unknown and lent me one of their bikes.
Yeah.
So I'm currently riding it on loan. It's the start of hopefully a potential partnership. Who knows? At the moment, it's just, I suppose, a testing bed for both of us to see what we could do for each other. I clearly have this platform where I can shout about amazing brands, and a few brands have come on board to help support me recently. And before I go into them, really, I just want to highlight, I have reached out personally to all of these brands. They've not come to me and asked me to try and sell stuff. I've reached out to brands that I align with, that I think would work well with who I am and what this podcast is about. And there's no better cycling brand that I really want to shout out about than Mason Cycles. Their bikes are just phenomenal. They are an adventure cycling brand. They don't do carbon. They're not about that kind of like aesthetic bullshit. It's all about real bikes that have real purpose and can handle real terrain. Their kind of mantra is far fast. So they're certainly not a slow bike company. They definitely design their bikes to be ridden fast. And Josh Ibber is one of their ambassadors who's been riding Mason for probably about a decade, who is a former TCR winner and won the TCR, the very race that I'm doing, on one of their bikes. So they are very well tried and tested, certainly within the racing industry as well. But what I love about them, so I'm riding their SLR. It stands for super long range. It's a bike very much suited for who I am as a rider. It's kind of a gravel / touring bike, but handles very well on road as well. And I've been doing a lot of road riding on it. And actually, one thing I love about Mason Cycles is all of their bikes. They've got a range of bikes that cover a range of disciplines, from kind of road all the way up to a mountain bike. But every single one of their bikes has its own range, which is quite wide. So they're not even restricted to saying this bike is for this discipline. It's like, yes, we built this for this discipline, but we've allowed it to breathe into these other disciplines. So many of them, you put road tires on, you ride on a road bike, a road setup. Easily. A lot of them have eyelets for different mounting points, so you can attach panniers to them. So you might not, if you come to them, you might not want that as part of your journey yet, but it future-proofs it to saying, oh, actually, I want to now ride this with the pannier, or I want to put some mounts on the fork, or I think all of them come with like mudguard attachments as well, so you don't have to ride with mudguards, but when you want to, they are there. And I love that about a brand that says, we're not going to define you or what you want your cycling journey to be. We're going to allow you to have options. Yeah. And so it allows it to be more flexible and more fluid, so that, you know, if a bike should be a long-term investment, and I've always been on the side of a bike should do more than just one thing. Yeah. And so the first bike I own is a touring bike, but it's also a gravel bike. It's also a road bike. And I changed the setup for different things. And so to align with Mason and have the SLR as basically a massive upgrade to that setup, but still have that foundation of this is a bike that does it all. And my God, riding it is an absolute dream. It just flows. It flows from road to gravel seamlessly. I've been absolutely caning it. There's a stretch of gravel on the Tamsin Trail in Richmond Park. On my second ride, it was a very, very slight downhill, so I was obviously getting a little bit of pull from gravity, but I was looking down and I was smashing 40 kilometers an hour on gravel. So smooth, so fast, and that was on the second ride, and my confidence on the bike just from then on has just been solid. And I've done 2,000 kilometers on this bike, and I'm absolutely in love with it. It's phenomenal.
That's great to hear. I do agree, though. I think you're very right in that for most of us. And admittedly, I know that I haven't done this, but you want like a bike that's a bit of a Swiss Army knife. And I guess that's kind of in many ways, what the gravel bike experience is a bit more of now, where you have that sort of both the geometry that is both can be slightly aggressive, but not so aggressive that you're basically going to get neck ache or something. And then you've also got ultimately a frame that's got enough tire clearance to fit big gnarly tires in there and different wheel sizes and all of that stuff. So I think that's cool. And I'm glad that, as you say, you've got all the different places that you can put the nuts and bolts on. So yeah, I can see we're both clearly on our own journeys when it comes to experiencing our equipment and things like that. So it's a lovely thing to hear.
Yeah. And if you are interested in an adventure bike, take a look at Mason Cycles websites. They do have a whole fleet of demo bikes that you can try in different sizes. So you can get to ride before you buy. Also, they happen to have probably the very best cycling workshop in the UK. It's in a barn in West Sussex with the most incredible views of the South Downs. And they've even got a little kind of gravel route that they can recommend for you to go and try their bikes. I'm riding demo bike number 9. That's what it's called. And also they will build a bike to your specifications. So they have lots of options on their website of different specifications of what you want. But if you want something slightly different, just email them and they probably will account for that. So absolute love for Mason Cycles. I'm 2,000 kilometers into riding and I'm feeling locked and loaded on this bike and just really excited for, hopefully, if they'll allow me to continue it on loan, is doing some amazing touring with it in the foreseeable future. We'll see. But I just want to say a huge thank you for them for taking a punt on someone to give them a much better experience. And I'm enjoying being faster as a result. Speaking of being faster as a result, the last time we spoke, I talked about my rather sad experience of being dropped on a group ride, which I turned into a reel. I've written about this experience and posted it online, but also I posted the reel. I have received a significant amount of hate, certainly a lot of heat from this reel. Over 150,000 views on different platforms with over 1,000 comments. I did read a lot of them until I then had to completely switch off because a lot of shit was coming my way. That doesn't mean, certainly, that the hate is justified in any way, or that was the full opinion of the internet. Certainly a lot of people liked it. Certainly a lot of people seemed to agree. Other people also commented that the comment section were kind of merely proving the point that there is some toxic cultures within cycling, and perhaps I should really highlight and say within road cycling. I have written a follow-up article, which I've nearly finished. It's just been taking me a while to get the kind of right kind of angle and the right kind of response that kind of warrants this. But I'll talk about this here whilst I can, because I think I've kind of got the gist of what I want to say. And there's a few things that come out of this. First of all, I noticed some very common themes within the comments, or certainly within the comments of hate. And that seems to be that getting dropped is normal. Being dropped is your responsibility as a rider. Inclusivity means that everyone has to slow down. And if you don't know the unwritten rules of cycling, certainly road cycling, it's your fault. And this one, which I think is probably the biggest theme, is that suffering is part of the cycling culture. Or I suppose that ultimately cycling is a tough sport. And if you can't hack it, you need to go away and come back stronger. I've written a response which I'll publish, but I just fundamentally want to address this now and say that no, like social sport in any sense should not be a tough game. And if it seems like dropping riders is a rite of passage with an underlying message that seems to be, I suffered it, so you should too. And giving especially newcomers a worse experience simply because that's how things are done in the world of cycling is very counterproductive in giving people a great experience. I don't want to say too much more about that because I will post my full response probably in the next week or two, and I might do a little video as well just acknowledging it. But some of the hate, great that the internet is full of these people, keyboard warriors, but a lot of them were representatives of the cycling community. So that's kind of a bit shameful that these just weren't just random keyboard warriors. These are people who are representing clubs and communities out there. Some guy calling me out, saying I don't look fit, and questions whether I've been riding for 10 years. He also said that cycling is about fitness and improvement, not diversity. Yeah, I've got qualms about those, and I've addressed that in my thing. But there is some positives, because I have not let two negative experiences get in the way of me continuing to try to be social in this world of cycling. And I've continued to show up where possible. And I say where possible because I didn't address this, and just some context. I think people wrongly assumed from the reel that I put out, and maybe it was some bad editing, because I used the phrase race organizer. It wasn't a race I attended, it was a social group ride, but organized by someone who puts on races. I should have said by a brand, organized by a brand. It's irrelevant that they were a race organizer. But clearly putting the word race in it, as people have seemingly perhaps, and I forgive them if they've assumed this, that I took part in a race and then cried about being dropped, which is not the case. But I think the information was there if you wanted to actually absorb it properly. Where was I going with this? But yeah, I've not let this put me off turning up. But I have not attended many a group ride because I've seen that the advertised pace is not something that I could sustain. And that is great for both sides because it's very clear communication. And I've learned that with group riding, and the problem that I faced in these two, I suppose, rather rogue instances, is it boils down to three things: communication, expectation, and how riders at the front of the pack treat those at the back. And I've turned up to a gravel ride, which was a ride at your own pace ride with Sigma Sports and Stone Circle, which was lovely. And because this communication was put up front, that this was a ride at your own pace, I turned up ready to ride at my own pace. And they had an amazing briefing at the beginning where they reminded everyone of this setup and checked that everyone had the route. I had the route on my phone, but I didn't have my phone like visible. I was planning to ride with people if I could, attach myself to people who had the route fully. This is another thing. I didn't own a ride computer at the time. I don't think that should be the barrier of entry for sport. If you've got a phone and the means to navigate with that, which is what I do, that's how I chose to ride, but I didn't have it kind of face up in front of me. But I attached myself to some guys and rode the entire route with them, had the most amazing experience with them. So thank you for Stone Circle and Sigma Sports for hosting incredible group rides. Stone Circle Gravel Festival, which I'm going to do this weekend, also partnered with Giro. They are a bike workshop and a cafe shop in Esher in southwest London. I've learned, host weekly gravel rides every Thursday evening. So I turned up and witnessed the ride leader, the person in control, pay attention to those at the back and make sure they were accounted for. And that was incredibly reassuring. It wasn't me. I wasn't the person at the back, but it was incredibly reassuring to see that in action. I've seen that in the weeks since I've been going there. And I also witnessed the group just naturally pause to regroup several times around the course. So these things are just basic bits of group etiquette, which I didn't get on my two bad instances. And then this weekend, I actually turned up to my first ever group ride since this kind of this whole ordeal at Sigma Sports. They host monthly road rides, and I joined their slow group, which is still a decent speed, and had the most incredible two ride leaders who've been doing their rides for years. I just saw them just have brilliant communication, make sure everyone was accounted for in the group. We stopped when we had to stop for mechanicals. We made sure everyone was accounted for. No one was purposefully left behind. But also that we were encouraged to ride the hills at our own pace, but they told us where to stop to regroup. And this comes back to my point about how I think what makes a group ride is communication, expectation, and how riders at the front of the pack treat those at the back. But what I've learned from these probably more positive experiences is how really that falls down to having some good leadership. And when you have a great ride leader who is able to do the communicating and keep the group together, it's a wonderful experience. And it's going to sound, I don't know, a bit fairy, as someone called me, but being able to finish a social group ride with the pack made me feel amazing. So contrast to when I didn't finish a ride and I felt like shit, it's just a huge contrast of being able to finish with people just made me feel amazing. And it just made it feel so much more sociable. I was so proud that I could be doing that. And I was able to then stick around and have a great chat at Sigma Sports with these incredible new riders that I hope might be friends to come for years. So I would like to, I suppose, reveal that there's been some positivity in this, and I have eventually found some good spaces where I have seen some great ride etiquette.
Yeah. No, I think that's an important thing to pick up from. I mean, I was amazed at how much backlash you were getting from that reel that you posted. And bear in mind, I'm not in that world. I don't participate in it. I mean, I'd like to, for sure. I guess it's just it's an interesting dynamic going on there. I think you've pretty much hit the nail on the head. When with anything, I just consider communication just to be, that's the most important thing. Like, you know, if you've got keyboard warriors who are literally telling you that's all about suffering and sacrifice, and it's like, well, that's cool. If you, I'm okay with that. If you communicated that, if you communicate
if it's a
that,
race,
if you communicate that, and that's what you say, that like, that's what this is about. That's what, like, you know, I like suffering as well, sort of thing, in the context of, I like the training of that side of things. So you're going to get different people who want different things out of it. But if it's a social ride, call it a social ride. Or if there's a drop ride, or if it's a chain gang, or if it's any of those things going on, or like a pace line, you do that. And I know friends who are in that world, sort of thing, who go to all those, and it's great. But it is exactly as you say. It's just communication. They're split up into groups based off like what their perceived pace is. There are points where, you know, like you go off and you hit your hard efforts and people split up and it spreads out. And then eventually it all kind of like drifts back together again. And then, like, you know, they'll do another effort, and then but people already know that. They're aware of it, and it's communicated and it's explained. And that's sort of the purpose of it, in the sense that it's got that side and element of it. I think, as you say, if you turn up to something where it's called a social ride, and the social aspect disappears, or people are there literally trying to just essentially dick swinging around. That's the wrong word. I'm going to use, what can I use that's a bit nicer than calling a dick swinging. But yeah, I think if you just turn up where people are just essentially trying to be their big boy sort of thing going on, it's just makes for a...
And it does seem to be a male issue. I hate to really not acknowledge it, but every single comment of hate I've received comes from a man. And that's just a fact. I'm just going to leave that out there. That's all I want to say about that. I'm not going to say anything more, but that's just a statement of fact. Yeah, it's a shame, I think, that cycling has, first of all, so many barriers to entry, but also group cycling. And I'm now learning, while I get that more experience, it is a tough kind of thing to get into. But like, where is the feeder into that? Like, how do you get fed into road cycling where you're having to ride on someone's wheel, for instance? Like, if that's your first ever road cycle, how are you going to know, you know, what that feels like? And for me, like, I found a bit of confidence on this road ride recently where I was like really, really close to someone's wheel and just was like, okay, this is probably not what I'm used to because I'm a solo cyclist, but like, I know that this is how it's meant to be done. I'm just going to lock in line. And I took my turn at the front quite often as well, which I was really proud of because I'm a super strong rider. But it was very interesting afterwards, speaking to one of the ladies. She's like, you know, I quite like riding your reel. I quite like riding your wheel. Whereas I didn't like riding the reel of this other guy who was on this ride. And I was like, oh, why is that? Like, what do you mean by that? Like, what? And I don't know what that means. And basically it meant that she felt very confident being directly behind me.
Yeah.
Because she said that I was a consistent rider. I didn't just stop pedaling at some points. I just kind of kept that power in. So she knew that she could feel confident. And something like that, like, it's like that being communicated to me helps me now understand the dynamics of a group ride, of what is the expectation of a rider as well. And
although equally that there is an example of what I would deem as being like, where I would deem like what you were saying earlier about the unwritten rules of cycling.
Yeah.
That is one of them. But that is also one of the unwritten rules that clearly, for if you're a new person, that unwritten rule needs to be communicated in certain ways.
You're going to be making mistakes the whole time you turn up.
But the whole thing is like, you know, that element or that side of riding a bike. And bear in mind, I haven't been in it. I've just read about this and heard about this and stuff. It is about cycling in those scenarios. You look at things like a peloton. Okay, they are millimeters away from each other. Everything, regardless if they're on the same team or not, it's about trusting that that person in front of you doesn't do something rash. And it is stuff like that. And the ones that are those unwritten rules, which, if you know, it's obviously clear for somebody who's been doing it for a while, who understands it, and who has been, you know, it's probably brought up at some point. But it is like, oh, guess what? You don't suddenly stop pedaling and you don't suddenly brake. It's like, otherwise, you know, you're going to cause an accident and there's going to be issues and things. Or, you know, if you can't take a turn on the front or something, you get to the front and then, you know, all of a sudden you get hit with a headwind or something. It's fine. Like, you've just communicate that you're pulling out or something. But again, these are considered, some people would call these unwritten rules. I think they're just simply for those that are, you just find out at the start who's here, like on their first time doing something like this. Just go through some of these sort of what we deem as,
or talk to them during the ride.
Exactly. It's like, you shouldn't have to feel so.
I don't know if this was a
that.
big issue or not, but on one of the group rides I went to, which was a bad experience, I didn't realize until afterwards that at one point, I don't know if I was doing this consistently, but at one point I was riding in between two riders in the middle, but like just back. So not on their wheel, but like in the middle. And apparently, then I saw on a reel that this is frowned upon. You don't do that. You either sit on the reel or sit back.
Yeah, you don't overlap.
Kind of this overlap.
You don't overlap.
I don't even know why that's an issue. What do you know why that's?
Yeah, well, just in the context of if you're overlapping a wheel, that person just has to veer slightly.
Right.
Both your wheels will touch. It's just.
I caught myself probably unaware of how to do this group riding. Was just found myself in this position. I was like, I don't know if this is right. And I don't know if that was seen by other people, because if they know their etiquette, they probably would have been like, oh, that's really dangerous. I don't think I did it a lot. I think I just did it occasionally here and there. But oh my God, if someone would have told me, oh, by the way, Tom, or like, would be like, oh, have you done much group riding before? And I'd be like, oh, no. I said, okay, I just saw that you were just doing this. Just FYI. Oh my God, locked in straight away. I know what to do. And it's that communication within the group as well to say,
just that automatic element of, as you say, I think it's the way in which people, as kind of demonstrated quite clearly with some of the comments that you had, it's that 0 to 100 real quick. It's like, instead of going to the whole thing of being like, mate, you should, or even if you don't have to communicate in the most wonderful, like, polite manner, but even if you just say, mate, you shouldn't be, like, you can't do that because of this, they'd be like, oh, sorry. Okay, I'll
lesson learned.
Thanks very much.
Yeah.
Not like, what an absolute asshole. He knows not, like, what an idiot. He's an absolute, not like, hey, it's like, you know, as in, no, I don't think anyone joins one of those to deliberately try and like make things harder or, you know, to do something that's not considered proper etiquette. If he's doing it, it's probably because he's unaware or he hasn't got experience of it and he needs to learn. In that case, be a big boy and actually like help him out instead of just being a bit of a knob and just like deriding him and stuff like that. You know, they're like, these aren't like difficult things here. And like, you know, just people will, as you say, love to just bash it out on a keyboard.
We've shouted them out a few times, but huge credit to Sigma Sports. because the gravel ride that I went to had ride leaders on, and I was chatting to one of them about his experience, but also this road ride. They are obviously very well trained and very well experienced ride leaders, and I think, well, as I said, that makes a huge difference for how you trust the group. And I think now looking ahead to whatever groups I'll turn up to, I'm always going to go in believing that if I get dropped, I will, I'm fine with that. Like, that's now my anticipation, like my base level, like what my expectation is. If I get dropped, will I still be okay? But I will probably now try and seek a group that's got a trained ride leader, and I'll ask those questions. I think you get that a lot in cycling clubs, where obviously people have been going there for years, and then naturally they are just very well trained ride leaders. And I shout out to Islington CC, who sent me on their website, they've got a page which says group riding etiquette, which goes into not leaving riders behind and looking out for each other. And amazing that they spread that out to all the newcomers who come and join them. I would like to say that a lot of people have said one of the common threads in the comments was, you need to join a cycling club. We cater for lots of different pace groups, and some of them have like 5 or 6 different pace groups, which is amazing. Unfortunately, the way that I live with this nomadic lifestyle, like joining a specific club in a specific location, probably doesn't work for me. Maybe in hindsight, for these 3 months that I've been training, I maybe could have joined something. But one, I hate the fact that you have to pay money, and it's like a barrier entry in terms of like, official fees. Which, I mean, I'm not arguing against clubs, because athletics clubs in running and cycling clubs, they have their place. But with my running journey over 5 years, I've just saw the free communities that are put on by brands or put on just by people who are just love running. And I get a lot out of just being able to turn up for free and then know that I can have, sometime somewhere else, and not paying some kind of membership fee that I feel like I need to attend. I know it's not that expensive, but just, not everyone can afford some membership fees. But yeah, my lifestyle kind of, I certainly, if I copy and paste for my running, I do seek these brands who put on these activations, whether it's Sigma Sports or someone like Run Limited. Like, I just get a lot out of those kind of communities that are just so easy. You don't have to pay to attend. You can just turn up. Some of them actually require a free ticket, at least with Sigma Sports they make sure you're checked in. But anyway, I would love to have a cycling club, journey, but at the moment in my life, that just doesn't fit. I will, coming out of that ride with Sigma Sports, when you just had the most fun at a beach, like in the sea, and you get in bed and you're swaying, and I went to bed that night so full of confidence, but also just so full of joy of those times when they released the riders. Okay, we've got a hill now. Go off if you want. They're like, go on, Tom, go for it. I was like, oh, my legs are tired. I did really hit it. They're like, go on. I was like, okay, cool. And I just paced it up. Like, there's a Coombe Lane in the Surrey Hills. And I just launched it. And it happened to be like a group of lads ahead that I tried to catch up with. I just about managed to catch up with them at the top of the hill. But I was out of the saddle, like so much in like little bursts going up this hill. And I just love the fact that I had that experience within this group ride. And it just made me so happy, so full of joy. And I'm so excited to go and return back to them sometime, probably after my race.
Yeah, that's a great thing to hear.
And it's kind of, full circle moment in this journey of like trying to find a social group within cycling. It's just annoying that it's taken so long. Like, I've been, eager for it for this whole journey, but that seems to be cycling, or at least my journey within it. I want to close talking about a few more partnerships, if you don't mind, because I've had some lovely brands that I've reached out to who have sent me some amazing gear. First of all, Tailfin. This is one of the Tailfin bags. This is quite a big top tube bag, actually. I've got a top tube bag. They sent me so much stuff. They've really looked after me.
Oh. I want some Tailfin stuff. I don't even do bikepacking, and I want all the Tailfin stuff. I've seen it all. I don't know. I got suckered into it as well.
Oh well, I have never used Tailfin before. I've known about them for years. My friend Spike had one when we cycled London to Paris in 2017, and so I've been aware of them since. First of all, these bags are really well made. We've got these like rubber, I don't know what you call these placers that go on top of the frame. Yeah. So you've got a lot of contact area here, so it's not going to destroy your frame in like a tiny contact area. These amazing straps, which are so robust. A lot of space. They actually have a really good system on their website where you can print off a template and you cut it out and you can fit it onto your bike to work out what size. And if you put your bottles in, you can work out what's good for you. I went for the largest I could get, just so I can get as much real estate in here as possible. But I haven't really got it here, but I've been trying to attach it to my bike, but I didn't have a torque wrench. So I had to buy one. I finally got one. Bike packing. When I got involved in it, I think 2019, I bought all my bike packing bags. I had a full set and I went for a handlebar bag, a frame bag, and a saddle bag. Now, the saddle bag I want to talk about, back then, it was a thing that the saddle bag was attached to your saddle.
Yeah.
And I've had one and I've worn it for years. I haven't had that many problems with it, but someone from Mason, I think Mark, one of the mechanics, was talking to me about bags and tail fin. It's like the problem with endurance racing is that with saddle bags, you're putting a lot of weight onto the saddle over a long period of time, and actually some saddles can break.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I've never had an issue with mine, but also they swing a little bit. Again, I've not had too much of problems with mine, but I've not been racing. So I listened to him and I thought, okay, I wonder if I can improve my setup. Now, what's very interesting, a lot of brands now are moving away from that saddlebag attached to the saddle and incorporating some kind of rear rack that sits on the seat post and then attaches to the bike. So you're getting some kind of very lightweight frame, like a kind of very miniature, or not miniature, but a very scaled down version of a pannier rack that is basically suited for a saddlebag type bag to sit on.
So instead of it all attaching and being held on by the seat post where it swings, you've now got the seat post, and then you also then have the two extra prongs, shall we say, which will attach to the frame basically, just to give it that stability and security.
So you get that stability, and so it doesn't sway. And so Tailfin have been pioneering that technology for years. So they are the most obvious choice that I reached out to for their rear rack system, and they've sent me. I could have chose between their cargo one, which is the bigger one, or their speed pack. I went for speed pack because I don't want to be packing too much. But very interestingly, I've got the carbon frame, so it's their super lightweight one. You could add on if you wanted to, or get the frame that has pannier mounts, tiny little mounts on the end. Only adds on a little bit of extra weight, probably affects the aerodynamics a little bit. But for me, future-proofs this for potentially putting pannier racks on. And then they said, we'll send you some pannier racks. So I've got, it's in a bag here. I chose I think it's compatible with all pannier racks. I've got another brand of bigger panniers. So I went for their mini pannier bags.
Oh, wow.
So I've got these smaller
Those are
bags.
very mini.
And I just like the idea this is like not a lot more extra space, but a significant amount of extra space, just to make sure I get a little bit, but I can still have a lightweight setup. And then if I want a heavier setup, I've got the bigger pannier bags.
Yeah. And I suppose it's that classic thing where, it's giving you a little bit more but not so much that you still have to be careful with what you pack.
Yeah.
And also it will be like, okay, there are things which you need and things which you want. The size of that bag still keeps you within the things that you need category, rather than adding, shall we say, those things which are like, do you actually need that thing for your race?
Exactly.
It's like, probably not. So good, I can't fit it inside that bag, but I can have
a lot of my choices as well actually are to know that I've got different setups. So I've still got my old different branded bike packing bags. So that saddle bag is a much larger one than this. So I've got, gear now that covers a range. This is their speed pack. Interestingly, you could choose either to have it mounted to the frame like permanently, or not necessarily permanently, but like mounted to the frame, or one that's removable. Yep. I went for it to be mounted to the frame, which I'm not sure. I don't know. I didn't really know how I want to use it, but I think it's you could still unscrew it if you wanted to. But actually, what I love about this, I don't know what the capacity of this is, forgive me, but you can see it on their website. However, you've got this extra mesh on the outside where you can stuff like extra stuff. Yeah. So great for resupplies.
Yeah. Versatile enough that you can
drying
still
some
have
clothes or something.
everything waterproof on the inside, is kept waterproof on the inside, but you can still shove some things on the outside.
So
Great.
thank you very much to Helfin for supporting me and giving me some amazing bags. Another brand who have come on board to help support me is Costume, who are a apparel brand for cycling. So jerseys, bib shorts, gilets, arm warmers, leg warmers, who also have provided all of the gear for Sarah Ruggins to complete her world record European bike ride, where she set the outright record for cycling across Europe, all in Costume gear. So this is really interesting, because I've been kind of, whenever I do my kind of slow touring, I don't need to look like a cyclist. I don't need to have like the
Jersey.
The skin-proof stuff, because I'm not going particularly fast. Now I'm wanting to get faster. I need to like have some good gear. But also very interestingly, I got sent, I want to share out this. This is the base layer. Do you have a base layer?
I don't. I did wear effectively yesterday one of my running vests.
Okay.
And I called that a base layer.
Okay, well, I've never, ever, ever worn one of these before. And in a little vest top, you don't look great on its own, but obviously a jersey goes on top, right?
Yeah.
I am absolutely in love with this. And even in hot conditions, I was really confused as to whether I would want to wear it. I've been wearing it in all my training except for one ride last week where I wanted to test what it was like not riding with it in hot conditions. And surprisingly, what this does is wicks a lot of the sweat. So this gets really, really wet when you're riding. And so I was like, what's it going to be like in hot conditions? Well, hot conditions, without it, I got hot going up a hill, naturally, as you do. When I went down a hill, I got really cold.
Yeah.
And so what this does is regulates the temperature. It stops you from getting really cold going down a hill. And actually it was chilly. And I was like, I don't like this fluctuation in temperature. This is a regulator, because it's still got some, I don't know.
Well, it's got the thermal properties, but also, it's the classic.
Doesn't come off as quickly or something.
Yeah, and it's the classic thing where it will trap air in between your skin, and so that will create a vacuum which can heat up. It's like when you watch old school riders in the Tour de France, they'll still stuff newspaper down their tops, like their jerseys, before they go down a descent, because obviously just cold air.
Interesting.
And obviously, being riders that
especially
they
in the
are, they've just got
mountains,
like no.
Well, there you go.
No fat on their chest at all whatsoever. So yeah,
all you need is a great
there
base
you go.
layer.
Yeah.
What I actually love about their base layer, which took me a few rides to actually work out, they've got a little sneaky pocket in the back.
Nice. Yeah, they look great.
Yeah. They have a new item, which I don't think is actually released yet, but they've sent me this. This is their minimalist jersey.
Nice.
As you'll notice, no pockets on the back.
Okay. Oh, yeah, that is very
Which
minimalist.
for a cycling jersey, very interesting, right? Because you think cycling jerseys are all about pockets. It does have a tiny little pocket to fit some keys in, which is obviously important.
They obviously knew you were getting a tailfin backpack.
Yeah. So why don't you need pockets as a cycling person? Well, pockets can be good to fit in your, spare inner tube, your tools, a banana or whatever. But if you've ever tried to access your pockets while cycling, it's actually really awkward. I'm not a massive fan of them. And as a bike packer, I've never actually worn a top with pockets. I've just worn an active t-shirt, because everything is in bags in front of you. So this suits kind of bike packers, but also if you just want to go really fast. So on a race, when you've got things like so many cyclists have bags now full of stuff, great for that. And I just think it looks really sweet. And obviously a lot more aerodynamics. You're not got buggy things. And if anyone's put a banana in their jersey pocket, it doesn't last very long. It gets squashed. However, though, if you do like pockets, they have a cargo jersey which has 2 layers of pockets.
Okay.
So you've got your traditional 3 pockets at the back here, which most cycling jerseys do.
Yeah.
But then it's got another level
within
of
those
2 pockets. So one is double-sized, the size of 2 pockets, and then an extra pocket here. I love this because when racing and when touring, you do need to resupply, and usually you maybe will wear a bag for a little bit when you're cycling in the evening with lots of stuff. You don't have to have a bag. You can just stick it all in here. And coming back from a ride on the weekend, I had to stop at the supermarket and pick up a kilogram of potatoes. And I can vouch that a kilogram of potatoes fits in this big pocket here.
All right. Okay.
So it's practical in having range, in how you use it. So, yeah.
I wonder if that was their testing capacity, was to see, can we fit a kilogram of potatoes going on?
I should actually shout out.
Potatoes, new potatoes, who knows?
Yeah. Shout out as well to their cargo bib shorts. So these have pockets on the sides, which is amazing. You can easily fit a phone in there, but also other items. But they're just super comfy, super good quality. I love their what do you call these? Things,
nice.
The straps.
Yeah,
just nice and wide, but also orange.
Bit of
colour. Yeah, massive fan of them. I'm so comfy. And actually, these I've been riding lubeless for quite a few rides, and I'm fine. So huge love to Costume.
Nice.
Amazing gear company, super high quality, the best quality cycling stuff I've ever had. So really excited to continue wearing them. They come from an Audax background, especially supporting female riders as well. So if you want to find out more about them, go on their website. Also, I should actually say why they are so special as a brand as well. They are really big on environmental, really big on sustainability. So all of their gear is made to order. So they only produce it in small batches. So you pre-order items if you want to buy stuff, basically, and then they only produce a small quality of it. They don't want things to go to waste. And they have green credentials across the board. So they're one of those companies that really just look after the environment as well. So huge love for Costume and really happy to be partnering with them. Coming to a close, I suppose, well, I mean, I'm going to show you this. Do you have your phone with you?
Yes.
Okay. This is
I saw you post about this.
This is my new Physique helmet, the Kudo, which is really comfy. I'm really getting on with it. A light on the back, which is always handy, especially when touring, to have an emergency light.
Nice.
But you will notice on that helmet, I have attached a little sticker on the side.
Does this person need help? Tap this NFC sticker with your phone.
So if you put your phone and just place it on top of that sticker, what's happening?
Do I need to open my phone?
No? Oh, I guess so, yeah.
Oh, hang on, there we go. Open Chrome NFC tag, opening Chrome. Tap ID. Ah, cool rider.
So you got my name, and you got
known allergies.
No known allergies. I could put my blood type in there, all your medical information if it's important.
Emergency contacts.
And emergency contacts. Now, hopefully, something like that will never ever be needed. However, as a solo bike tourer going off into foreign countries,
yeah, that's good.
It just seems like a bit of a no-brainer to at least have something where people can contact family.
Yeah, that's a great way to do it.
So shout out to Le Tap ID, who sent me that. I think it's a really cool concept.
That was really cool.
You get 2 stickers in a pack, and they can fit obviously any helmet. So it's not just for cycling; could be for snowboarding and things like that as well. But obviously with cycling, you go far, fast, and into the unknown. So who knows? I hope I never need that, but it's nice to know that someone will know who I am and where to contact my family if there's any
good cooling properties, good vents.
Yes.
Needed.
Yeah. Really, really happy with that helmet. Really, really happy. And I got a new saddle from them as well, the Antares, which I've done 2 long rides with, and it's amazing. I just barely noticed it's there, and it just looks really cool.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. So thank you for Seek as well. No misadventures today. I don't think we've got time, but we'll open the jar another one. This will be the final time that we speak. And I'll probably put final time I see you personally. before my event.
Okay, I was about to say, this might just be the last time I ever see you, Ben.
Before I put you on my emergency contacts on my phone.
I was half expecting to see my name pulled up on there. That's when I thought you were partly doing that. Like, don't know, ID. Congratulations, Ben. I've just given you a bit of responsibility that you were not expecting right there. But yes, we won't see each other probably until you get back from the TRC.
Yeah, and probably after your Ironman as well.
Yes.
So best luck with your Ironman 70.2, is it?
70.3.
70.3.
Yeah, don't forget that point. Don't you dare knock off that point one.
Best of luck with the rest of your training, swimming and cycling.
Likewise.
Running, hopefully you can do with the eyes closed.
Yeah.
But yeah, I will be posting details of my tracking for my TCR race, where you can track me in real time. Obviously, it's a race that's going to take me several weeks, so you can check in and find out where I am at any point. There'll be a tracking link, but all the magic will take place on Strava, so you can see hopefully my big epic rides on there. Any kudos, any support will be much appreciated. And I haven't mentioned this, but I am raising money for charity for Mind Ever Mountains. I'm going to talk about that on my socials nearer the time, but hoping to raise a little bit of cash for an amazing charity from someone who's been on the podcast, Alex Dannyforth. He spoke about it well over a year ago now. And the charity is just very close to home because they facilitate therapy in the outdoors. So I think it's a beautiful mix of giving people access to mental health support, but also doing it in a place which I think is of the best remedy as well. And I've had my own experience of finding solace in nature. So any support in any way, shape or form would be much appreciated. Thank you very much, Benny.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for fitting me on a work day as well. You've been on site delivering coffees this morning and then been podcasting in the afternoon. So really appreciate it.
Always a pleasure.
All right, look after yourself. Thanks so much for tuning in. If you want to find out more information about any of the guests, please check out the show notes, where you'll also find links to things mentioned in the conversation. And if you've enjoyed this episode, please take a look through the past recordings. There's so many more incredible stories for you to find, and I can't wait for you to enjoy them. Thank you.